Doing well. You look amazing. Thanks for
Thank
spending.
you. So do
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you. Thanks for spending this Saturday with us. I love
Absolutely.
to read. This was a really amazing book, and there's so many people that actually go through this similar situation.
Yes.
Unfortunately. So
Right.
I think you're going to help all of those people. Kind of get through the journey, so to speak. I mean,
Hmm.
you can never just forget, but at least you can find a way to, maybe navigate it a little bit better. And I
Right.
think your book is going to kind of help them do that. So,
Thank you.
before we get into things, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Um, Recently, published author from Flint, Michigan, mother of three, been married for 7 years. I love spending time with my family. I like doing a lot of outings, very music um, oriented as far as like, the jazz in the parks and things like that. I love doing things like that, as well as just, taking the kids to the park and, just kind of the simple things that give me joy.
That's nice, beautiful. Yes, I love my music too and my little outside activities. So, before we actually get into the book, I kind of think I know the inspiration as to why you wrote this book, but tell us why you decided to write the book.
Well, first, it wasn't my main goal to write the book. I started writing during the middle of the night when my husband was asleep and my daughter was asleep, and it was just kind of my peace time. And I would write my feelings down and, things I would say, to my son and things like that, along the way, just, just kind of release some of the grief and everything. But the further I got into it, I was talking to my husband. I was like, you know what, I could probably write a book. So I read a little bit and I put it down. And then I started telling people about it. And that's when I got the real big push. Oh, you should write it. You should write it. You should write it. I had people on my heels about it. So it just kind of went from, just kind of like your piece writing to an actual book that actually, got published and everything. It was never my goal to, it's not like, I'm out here to get rich on this here, but it was just more so to get my healing out, to help other people in need if they could. If it helps one person, then my job was done. So
Right.
it was just kind of out there to just kind of more so help people in the same situation that I was in.
Beautiful. I'm glad you decided to do it. And listen, I tell everyone this, no matter what the situation is, I say your feelings need a home.
Hmm.
And what a great place, a home to give it is through journaling or
Hmm.
writing or maybe even turning that thing into a book. And you did that. And I'm also in agreement that, if you can help one person, your job well done, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
They say each one teach one. So the name of your book is From Heartbreak to Healing Hearts, The Release of My Understanding. I also really truly love the title. So you have your dedication in this book. Talk to everybody about the dedication and kind of, in my mind, this is where, the book kind of stemmed from, your writing started from this.
Yeah.
So that they have an understanding of what we're about to talk about. Talk about this dedication right here because I love it. And I love the fact that your nicknamed him Doc. I love that. I
Thank
love that. But
you.
go ahead. Yes,
Um,
tell us about that.
the dedication to my son was, he didn't spend a lot of time on this earth, but the short amount of time that he was here, he touched a lot of hearts. So he was the reason I wrote this book. He is the reason why I wanted to help people out there in the same situation as I did. And I mean, as I was going through. So I mean, why not dedicate the book to the sole person that this is about? This is, he was my inspiration to write this book. So why not dedicate it to him?
Right. I love it. And can you read that? Because this is about Michael. Okay. And I
Yes.
know he's looking down on you. He's here with us today. So read that dedication.
Okay, it says, to a very special little boy who touched more hearts in 55 days than most people do in their lifetime. Not a day goes by that we don't remember that sweet smile of yours and cherish our times together. Your name will continue to live on.
Beautiful. And Michael Glenn Dawson, and your nicknamed him Doc. Where
Yes.
did that come from?
Well, his initials were MD. So, medical
Oh,
doctor, I just kind of came up with, doc, we'll call him doc, and it kind of just stuck.
I love it. I love it. And 55 days he was here and he blessed
Yeah,
you and your family. 55 days here, but for a lifetime, forever with you, right?
right.
So that is a wonderful thing. So, guys, you know how I like to do when we do our book recaps here to get you into it. I always love to go chapter by chapter so that y'all can take this journey with us, right? And in the introduction here, which I absolutely love, there's something that you wrote here. It says, the saying, you never know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice. That touched me. It was like, whoa and wow, right?
Yeah, right.
Because we all can think anything. We all can give our opinions about situations. But
Hmm.
until you walk down that road yourself,
You
you
have
never
no
truly
idea.
know. Yes.
No
Yes.
idea.
Yes, you have no idea whatsoever. So a lot of your book, I'll give everybody a heads up right now. Um, I got a little teary-eyed. It was because not just the situation that you went through, but some of the things are relevant for almost applicable to every parent in life
Right.
situation, right?
Hmm.
So I like that, and I really think that is so true that we don't know how strong we're going to be until we have to go through it. And it can apply to anything that you're going through in life.
Right. Hmm.
With the pandemic and the people losing their jobs, who would have thought
Hmm.
maybe you can survive that? There were
Right.
some people that they were stuck in the house by themselves. Like
Right.
they didn't have family members.
Hmm.
Imagine trying to get through that. So I appreciated that in the book there. The next thing you have here is the Mankind Project. I love that story. Tell us a little bit about that.
My dad actually sent this to me one day, and reading it, it actually brought tears to my eyes. It's a story about an older man that meets a little girl in a park, and she's crying about, she lost her doll. So during that time, the man, kind of connects with the girl and writes her letters along the way. And then eventually he sends her a different doll, but it has a note in her pocket that says, you know, things aren't lost, they just kind of change. So it kind of touched me that way because it's like, okay, in relevance to my son isn't lost. He just comes back in a different form, which I thought of as like my youngest daughter that was in the NICU as well. So it was like he's not gone, never forgotten, but he's just here in a different form. He's still around. You never lost him. He never went away. Physically, he's not here, but the spiritual vibe of him and everything is still around.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And guys, listen, you can get this book on Amazon. We're going to let you know all the places that you can get it. When you get that book, we want you to the book. We want you to read that Mankind Project in its entirety because I'm telling you, it's very touching, and I love the way it was written, and I think it's so true. And let me. So now I'm going to show you the book again. Do you see that? So now we know that, Michael is Angel now, we'll say, right? Doc, we call him Doc. I love that name.
Right.
And so you're going to get to know that, okay, there was the rainbow child that came after Doc. We're going to get to that for you. But the thing I love about this cover, I didn't realize it at first when I first looked at it, was when I looked at it again, that there is Michael, and that's your daughter, your other daughter, right?
Hmm.
Right. Okay, not Riley. Tell me her name again, because I'm mixing up.
Ryan.
Ryan, right? That's
Yeah.
Ryan. And
Right.
yeah, and so I thought that was so beautiful because it was almost like I pictured them like in the NICU together, but
Hmm.
he's the angel. I love the cover. So
Yes. Thank
that
you.
yes, you're welcome. So chapter one, it's about Doc.
Right.
Right. So tell us, about when you was pregnant with him. Tell us about, when he was born and how he was born early. Tell us a little bit about this chapter one about Doc.
Okay. So shortly after we got married, we found out that I was pregnant with Michael. I had a lot of issues with Michael. It was kind of like the whole pregnancy was attacking my body. I had blood pressure problems. I'm sorry.
No, it's
Um,
okay.
I had swelling in my legs. My kidneys started kind of going, and the doctor I had, he kept suggesting, like, maybe we should abort this child because it's not healthy for you. So my whole intent was like, I'm not going to abort this child. Who knows? I could have a healthy baby, even though it's attacking me. And he kept saying, 23 weeks and 24 weeks, that's going to be the latest you can have your abortion. I said, well, until the actual pregnancy starts to affect my life, like it's whether it's life or death, I'm not aborting this baby. So I was working retail at the time, and I worked a full day when I had Michael. I kept having these pains, but I thought maybe it's because I was on my feet all the time and just running around. When I sat down, it would feel a little better. But I got home and I was like, I told my husband, his name is Sean. I said, Sean, I'm in a lot of pain. I'm just going to lay down and just see if the pains will go away. No sooner than I laid down, it seems like the pains got worse. So we had to rush to the hospital. I started bleeding. They couldn't get an IV in me right away. I started throwing up. All these things going in my mind. They're trying to do this. I'm panicking because I'm afraid that I might lose my child. They say, 24 weeks is pretty much that fine line of whether they're going to make it or not. So they put me in a room. They thought that I had like pain medication. I didn't. So my contractions were coming like every 30, 45 seconds. There was no relief in between. And then at one point, the nurses went out, and next thing you know, he was born, and I'm yelling for the nurses to come in, and then, they grab him and they whisk him away to the NICU. On the way out, they had sent my husband home and told him to go get some clothes. No sooner than he's coming down the hallway, they're like, your child is born. He's like, whose child? Because, Michael wasn't supposed to be here that soon.
Right.
So he was totally taken by surprise too. So I didn't get to see him for like the first day of him being born. And they're telling me, how he's doing. The doctors are coming in and out trying to make sure I'm okay. But they're checking my blood pressure, and my blood pressure is going to be elevated because I'm worried about my son down in NICU.
Right.
So and they were very familiar with me. I was in and out of the hospital like almost every week while I was pregnant because my blood pressure was so high. But while he was in the NICU, when they say the NICU is a total roller coaster ride, they are not lying at all. You have your ups, you have your downs, your twists, your turns, just everything going on. So with that, you can't have, it's good to have a goal and what your expectations are. But with a NICU baby, you can't really have an end goal and say, okay, well, he's gonna or she's gonna be out in 6 months. With that, you have to take that time day by day, and you have to take your wins as they come. And you have to deal with the losses or the loss or however you say it, as well as you can. Because, there's definitely going to be those down times. And if you have a NICU baby and you say you've never had a downtime, then you didn't have a NICU baby.
So let me add here. He was born at 24 weeks. Okay.
Yes.
So that's 16 weeks early. And he weighed 1 pound, 8 ounces. Okay.
Yes.
And if anybody, I told you that, one, I was a pediatric nurse. Okay.
Yes.
2, I know about the NICU because I also did some time in the NICU. But 3, because my son was a NICU baby. And you are correct. It's very scary. It's a roller coaster ride for real. Like one moment you're on a high and everything's going well, and then the next second things just turn and you're like, well, how did that happen? Like,
Right.
what's going on? And it's really, really scary. So I'm so glad that you wrote your story and you just decided to share your story, because it gives people an opportunity to connect. Because I think NICU parents, they're their own secret society, or so to
They
speak.
are.
Right?
Definitely.
Nobody would truly understand what you go through unless they've been through it. Especially with most people, when they deliver their baby, your baby is put on your chest and everybody's celebrating and happy. When you deliver a NICU baby,
you don't get that time.
Oh, you don't. No, you don't. They're gone, and you don't even know. Like me, my emergency was I had an emergency C-section, so I didn't even know the baby was in or out of what was going on. So
Right.
it's great that you. But and also, what I really wanted to say was I brought up the 1 pound 8 ounces because no one could even imagine what 1 pound 8 ounces looks like.
Very tiny. Very
Very
tiny.
tiny, palm of your hand tiny,
Yes.
like
Yes.
just to give people an idea, it's like palm of your hand tiny. um
Right.
so God bless the people that go through it and take care of those small little babies. It's like
Right.
it's a miracle. It's a
Yes.
miracle, and it can be scary if you've never seen it before. Now, there's on page 5 here. You wrote, during our son's lifespan of 55 days, we watched him fight every day with the biggest smile on his face.
Yes.
That touched me. It
Yes.
was in these moments that I learned my first lesson. Even in the midst of storms, there's still a reason to smile.
Right.
Um, I love that paragraph that you wrote. It
Thank
touched
you.
my heart. Yes. And I want to say this to everybody again. Even in the midst of a storm, there's still a reason to smile. Um,
Mhm.
is there anything else kind of you want to talk to us about? A lot happened in this chapter with Doc.
Yes.
Um, and I guess I will jump to the part, and everybody get this book. It's an amazing story, amazing journey that Faith and her family went through, and you get to meet Doc. Okay, so we get to all
Yes.
enjoy Doc. What a fighter! What a fighter! In
Yes.
his 55 days, yes.
Yes.
Let's jump to the part where it's 3 days prior to his passing.
Okay. That is 3 days prior to his passing. I was able to give him a bath.
Yeah.
I was able to hold him. My mother and I just went out and we started because things were on the up and up. And like
Mm-hmm.
I said, that roller coaster ride, that's what it is. We actually went out and bought like the smallest set of onesies we could buy. We got him a little jacket because he was supposed to be here later in the fall months.
Right.
And we had just got back. I got back. The nurse surprised me and said, "Hey, we're gonna let you hold him." That was the happiest moment of my life. Um, he looked at me even, which made it even better. And then that night, I was able to go back to the hospital and give him a bath. So
Oh,
I was able to help give him a bath and things like that. Brush his hair, change his diaper, help change out his dressing and padding and stuff in his incubator. It was just a wonderful time.
beautiful, beautiful. So yeah, I see it says, so you got to hold him, you
Hmm.
wrapped your arms around him, you showered him with kisses.
Yes, absolutely.
I really, really enjoyed that. So it was good moments because it was like, he made a turn, and you was preparing to like bring him home eventually.
Right,
And
right.
then yeah, and then unfortunately on Valentine's Day, tell us just a little
Yeah.
bit about that.
On Valentine's Day, we got a call early that morning stating that he wasn't doing so well. And then with that, we had to have someone watch our daughter. We walked over to the NICU and things just he they said he had necrotitis, enterocolitis, that NEC.
Mm-hmm.
And what that did was it started putting so much pressure on his organs, and he was so bloated in his belly where his organs just started shutting down one by one.
Yeah.
So we, called our closest friends, called our pastor. The hospital made it as I wouldn't say comfortable, but as comfortable as we could while we were all there because we weren't leaving because we didn't know anything about it. Um, so that was a very hard moment. My daughter was very scared. Um, at that time, they brought all the family in and said that Michael wasn't going to make it, that he was passing. Um, it was at that moment where my daughter, we left the room. My daughter came to me and said, "So I prayed to God for nothing.
Mm.
Um, talk about a gut-wrenching punch. Um, that brought tears to everyone, more so than what was already there. Um, that was just as hard to deal with her than it was to deal with the death of my son. Um, to try to tell her that the baby we prayed for, God has decided to take away, it tested everybody's faith. You know, we prayed every night for this baby. You know, God, please put a healthy baby, boy or girl, in mommy's belly. That was our prayer every night. And when we were pregnant, she was over the moon happy, only to turn around and tell her that we won't be bringing him home. You know, we don't have a little baby for you to hold and to kiss on. And that was just, and on top of it being what's supposed to be the day of love, our
Mm-hmm.
hearts were broken into a billion pieces. So it was very hard for us to deal with that. But we had a lot of support, which I am grateful for. But it was still a moment that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy.
Yeah. And of course, my condolences. So,
Thank you.
Doc became an angel
Yes.
on Valentine's Day, the day of love. And like you said, of course, your heart was broken into a million pieces. But if you turn the thing around to something different, you could smile every Valentine's Day and say, you know what? There he is. Like he's, you know what I mean? He's our
Right.
angel. He's there. He's our heart. So now, and then you spoke about how it was harder for your daughter, and it was this is another reason why I love this book, because a lot of things that people don't understand is when it comes, and we'll speak about it more when you have the chapter on your daughter, Riley, right?
Hmm.
When it comes to the siblings of anyone that is in the hospital, whatever, sometimes by default the siblings kind of get lost in the mix,
Right.
because all of the energy has to go to the current person that is dealing with a situation at the
Right.
moment. And there is a piece that I highlighted, and we'll talk to it kind of like when we get there, where I understood your feelings, but I also feel like, what, in the moment in our life, we did the best we could at that moment. And
Hmm.
that's why when you know more, you do better the next time,
Right.
like, so to speak.
Exactly. Right.
And I just want to show everybody this. The beautiful picture is this. Was this you holding? I'm taking this as Doc's feet, or was that your husband? And this here, I don't know if everybody can kind of see.
That's
Um,
actually both of our hands.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
my husband's hand is at the bottom and mine is at the top.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love the pictures that you put in here. Absolutely beautiful, and I absolutely love that picture. So everybody, guys, again, you can get the book on Amazon. We are giving a book away today.
Yeah.
It's an amazing, very touching story, and a lot of information in here that can help you cope with almost anything that you're going through in life,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
Um, even in the midst of the storm, you could put a smile on your face. So we're in chapter 2 here, and you call this chapter the struggle, right? Um,
Hmm.
Tell us a little bit about this. I love the picture, of your husband in here, and he's holding a picture of Doc. And just tell us a little bit about the struggle.
The struggle. Just as anyone loses anybody, the struggle for me was my sister-in-law had become pregnant shortly after, and to me, it kind it's a trigger point. So during the time she was pregnant, she needed to go shopping for baby supplies and get this and get that, and um her older sister wanted to plan a baby shower and everything, and I'm all in. So I am, taking her around here. We're doing this, we're planning this. Um, and, I'm everywhere I go, I'm talking to my husband, Sean, we should get this for the baby. Sean, we should get that for the baby. And at one point it was kind of like I had to step back because I thought I was almost doing too much. Um,
Mhm.
and my husband was like, well, maybe you need to fall back some, because in my mind, I'm helping another baby. We got another baby on the way, but deep down inside, I think I was trying to bring Doc back or replace Doc with feelings of helping my sister-in-law out with her new baby. And
Mm-hmm.
that's hard to come to realization when when it comes to that moment. But once you understand that, it's a little better to deal with. It's still not easy to deal with, because at that time you still realize that you don't have your son. And
Right.
every baby boy you see, you're bringing that trigger moment back, or all these success stories of other preemies making it. Not to say that you're bitter, but you question in your head, why my son? Why didn't he make it?
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's just natural to have that why, or that natural reaction to want to cling to another baby, and kind of fill that void that you have from losing yours.
Understood completely. And you was kind of transferring your grief, right? Instead of dealing
Yeah.
with the grief, you was
Mhm.
full on with planning the baby shower and buying
Right.
stuff right for her new
Exactly.
baby, and kind of not like dealing with your own grief. And I
Not head
think
on, no.
yeah, right. So, and that leads us into the next chapter, that, grieving is definitely a process, right?
Yes.
Um, and you put in here, which is clearly happens, right? There's 5 stages to grieving. It's denial, it's anger, then you begin to bargain, then you may have a moment that you're in depression, and then, you fortunate if you can get to this stage where like you accept it, and just because you accept it doesn't mean that you're not no longer hurt.
Right.
It just mean like you got to a point where you're able to kind of deal with this and still go on and live your life. Um,
Right.
Talk to us a little bit about the grieving process and kind of what you went through.
But the grieving process, I believe everyone in our family went through some type of, I wouldn't say clinically diagnosed depression, but some type of depression in missing him.
Mm-hmm.
We went through our denial. We went through anger. With that anger, we were angry with God. Asking him, why would he do something like this? Why would he bless us with the baby only for him to be taken away?
Mm-hmm.
So during that time, our faith was really tested. We had to stick to what we knew to get through it. I wouldn't say we ever went through, um, I guess we did go through acceptance a little bit. I mean, as the time went on, like you said, it doesn't make it easier. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't mean like it totally goes away. It makes it a little easier to get through when you can, accept what happened, but yet, like you said, live your day to day functions as as you need to. Um, Trying to deal with your grief and still deal with other people putting um I want to say assumptions on you. Oh, you're so strong, you do this, you do that. That's even though you maybe that's kind of hard to hear, because that's not how you feel.
Mm.
So you may be thinking that you are, complimenting someone, but in someone else's mind at that point, that's not something they really want to hear. They appreciate it, definitely. But,
Right.
in that mindset, that's not how they feel. They feel like they're torn apart and, just lost and can't go through. But, to be strong that's a heavy word at that time.
Yeah, it's very heavy. I think a lot of times when we as family and friends, when we have someone that we love that's going through something, we don't
Hmm.
know what to say, and we don't know how to step in, and we
No.
don't know how to comfort the person. And some words that come out of your mouth is out of pure nervousness. Like
Right.
you're just nervous. You don't even know you, and
Hmm.
sometimes you're afraid to go over to that person's home. And I'm kind of speaking for myself here, because it's like,
Right.
okay, they had this traumatic loss. You yourself might be questioning like, God, why?
Right.
And now you're trying to go over there to support, and then you go
Hmm.
over there and you don't even know what to say. And then
And then
nerve.
sometimes they
Go
say
ahead.
the wrong thing. Like I
Right.
know with us, we went through so much to have Michael. And
Mm.
we would hear a lot of, oh, well, you're young, you'll have another one. Well,
Mm,
I don't believe in that statement because at that moment, I mean, I know you're trying to be, comforting and, proactive for the next baby should there be one, but you don't know what that person went through to have that one child or what that person went through during their labor. So at that moment, that's kind of like a punch to the gut. Like, you don't know if I'm going to have another child. You don't know what
right,
I went through. So, I mean, at that point, you just kind of smile and nod and like, okay,
right.
because, they're doing their best to comfort you, but at that same time, that's not the most comforting words to say.
Understood. And you know what? Maybe somebody needs to write a book for all of us that don't know what to do to try to comfort
Right.
somebody. Give
Yes.
us some helpful words and tips
Right.
because I'm telling you for myself, it is a struggle. And
It
so
is.
now I literally go and I keep my mouth shut because I don't know what to say. And I
Right.
just hug, I bring over my food, and that's what I got. And I'm like, if you need me, call me.
Right.
Because it's
Exactly.
hard. It's hard, right?
It
Because
is.
we think we're being helpful and we could not be at the moment. So let me just read this piece. After his passing, my family never really had a chance to fully process what just happened. We were no longer a family of four, but once again, a family of three. News of our son passing traveled quickly, and soon our house was busier than Grand Central Station. And when I read that, I was like, okay, did you ever live in New York?
I've been there before. I've
Okay.
never lived there.
I'm a New Yorker, so when I saw that Grand Central Station, I was like, okay, wait a minute, I gotta ask Faith. Um, so that's what happens too. A lot of times, like in the first beginning of anything ever happening, you get a whole bunch of support and people coming through.
Right.
Um, how did you feel once it started to kind of, trickle down where you had no choice but to deal with your feelings because now everybody is gone and it's left with you, your husband, and your daughter.
That was very hard because at that point I had taken time off of work. So it was just us in the house. Things were very quiet because nobody knew what to say.
Mm,
Everybody was still processing what was going on. There was a lot of breakdowns. I tried to comfort my daughter as well as I could at the same time of trying to deal with my own grief. At the same time, trying to make sure my husband is okay. So at that moment, it's like, okay, I need to grieve myself, but yet I have two other people that I'm worried about as well. So I grieved as I could, and I, got the support that I needed at that moment, and tried to offer the support to my husband and my child as I could. So it was very hard, but there was a lot of crying, a lot of still questioning why, and we were still going through different things of planning the funeral and talking to the doctors about the autopsy and what happened and things like that. So things were still, even though we didn't have the family going in and out, we still had a very busy time.
understood. So you did an autopsy?
We did, and actually I really didn't want to know, so I never got the report. They asked if we wanted
Okay.
one. I'm like, yeah, we do want one, but then I really couldn't bring myself to ask for the report to really see what happened. I was, I wouldn't say I was okay with what happened because I was still angry because
Mm-hmm.
I feel, I mean, as any parent should feel like there could have been more done to prevent what happened. But I think if I knew exactly what happened, it would make things worse.
I agree with you. Yeah, I can understand that, right? Because you couldn't reverse it, so you just let it be what it
Just
was.
leave it be. Right.
Yeah. And so did y'all have like a actual funeral?
We had a memorial, and
Okay.
he was cremated.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
he was cremated. So we put him, he's in a mausoleum here in Flint.
Oh,
And
nice.
yeah, we try to, bring him his flowers and balloons and stuff on his birthday and, Valentine's Day and Christmas. We have a little Christmas tree we put out there for him every year. So we still keep him relevant.
That's nice. That's beautiful. I love it. I love it. All right. So now this was interesting, right? Because I think just the world in general has kind of like a stigma sometime on counseling. And so I want you to talk a little bit. I marked this part here. People would always tell us to go to counseling, grief counseling. Um, Tell me a little bit about that.
Um, we had, everybody has their triggers. So when
Right.
you're talking to someone, or you see something happen and somebody's around and you start crying, and you have your emotional time, and everybody's like, well, if you go to grief counseling, they can help you with that. Well, just because someone is crying and, excuse me, still in the process of grieving, doesn't necessarily mean that they need counseling. Um, it could be, your counseling could be talking to your husband or talking to your best friend. It doesn't necessarily have to be with someone professional.
Hmm.
Some people don't trust the whole process of the counseling. So everybody deals with things in their own way, you know, without the counseling ever happening. But a lot of people who either just hear things about it or have not been through it exactly, um, say that, oh, you should go through counseling. Well, what do you know about counseling that's going to help me? Are you sure that this is going to help me, or is this just something that you are saying to, because you don't want to know what else to say, to kind of help comfort me? So,
Right.
like, you can't assume that just actual counseling is going to help someone get through something. There's many forms of counseling without it being actually professional.
Oh, I like that. That is true. I like that. So thanks for sharing that piece with me. Okay, so this other part before we leave the grieving chapter, I think this happens to many people in all types of situations. You said I blamed myself. Um, tell me a little bit about that.
Um, I blame myself because during this whole process, they're telling me, you should take off work. We might need to put you on bed rest. I was doing all the medications and all the, doctor's appointments, but I still wanted to work. I still, that, like I told you, I was on my feet a lot with my job. So with everything happening, I feel like, okay, well, maybe if I would have just took off work, or maybe if I would have did this, or maybe if I hadn't have gotten pregnant in the first place, it's just everything that you just kind of blame yourself for. It's like, okay, well, maybe if I was healthier, or, because I really don't know why the pregnancy was affecting my body like that. But you think in your head, okay, well, maybe if I was healthier, maybe this baby would have made it. Or maybe if I would have stayed on bed rest and, took that time off, maybe, he would still be here. But I mean, you blame yourself for things like that, but you never know um, what exactly happened for you to have that baby early. That, I know the earlier the baby is born, the less development they have, but you don't know
Mhm.
why, things happen. So it's kind of hard to say you blame yourself, but it's easier to blame yourself than to not do it. Every mother is, I believe, is going to have some type of self guilt for anything that happens to their child, whether it be a loss or some type of other issue health wise that they may have, that they think back in their head, okay, well, maybe if I didn't do this, or if they're a coffee drinker, well, maybe I didn't, if I shouldn't have drank coffee, or maybe if I didn't eat red meat, it's just anything out there that you think in the back of your head, okay, well, maybe if I would have did this more, or maybe if I wouldn't have done this, then things would have come out differently.
I agree with you. We take on a lot. We take on a lot as parents, and especially as moms, right?
Yes, right.
We tend to blame ourselves because it's easier to deal with a little bit, to say, what if I didn't do, X, Y, Z. So yes,
Right.
let me see what Trolling for the Lord says. The soul is your mind, will, and emotions. Please do not give your soul to the enemy. Okay.
Right.
So now we're up to the chapter 4, not ready.
Yes.
You have a poem there. I would like you to read that poem to everyone. I love this when I was reading the book.
Okay. It's chapter 4, not ready. I almost came to see you today. The day was young. My thoughts were dark. Missing you like I always do. I wasn't in my right state of mind. Just left the job. Thought I was fine. I almost came to see you today. Came home and did my duties. Homework, check. Clean house, check. Next was dinner, and I would be set. Mommy's little boy, always watching out, whispered, Mommy, be still. You are not well, no doubt. I miss you dearly and love you so, but this is not how you should go. So get your rest and take your time. Don't worry about me, Mommy. I'll be fine. My sissy needs you and Daddy does too. I know they miss me and I'll miss them too. I was there when you came to see me today, but I had to leave because you could not stay.
Mhm. That's beautiful.
Thank
That's
you.
beautiful. Yes. When I read that, it brought tears to my eyes. It's
Thank you.
absolutely beautiful. And you wrote this yourself?
Yes.
Yeah. And when did you write this poem?
This poem was after we had him cremated and had his services and everything. With my health, everybody's grieving. They're not taking, care of their bodies like they should. I actually went into diabetic ketoacidosis
Mm,
and ended up in the hospital and was really bad. So it was after that everybody has that moment of, not that you see the light, not saying that I did, but
right.
that time where, okay, well, if I just if I was to pass now, I'd be with my son. Um, but it was like, at that moment, he's telling you, Mommy, it's not your time. You have
Mm,
dad, you have my sister. I would love for you to be up here, but this is not your time. I'll see you later. So that's where that the line came from, I was there to see you today, but I had to go because you could not stay.
mm,
So it was like, if I was to come and actually see you and be in your arms, and maybe you would decide to take another turn. But because, I wasn't there, not saying that I didn't see you, but you had the chance to think about other things that you still needed to live for.
right.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Love it. Yes, I love it. Absolutely love it. All right, guys. I hope you're enjoying the book. Yes, and let me tell you something, guys. When I tell you, just so you see on my sticky notes there, when I tell y'all I read these books, I read the books, and
Yeah.
I would never come to y'all, and I didn't read the book myself and truly enjoyed it. When I tell you this is a beautiful story, it's an amazing book, and that you should buy it and check it out, you definitely should. Yes, I love it. Well, it brought tears to my eyes when I actually read it, right? So we're now on chapter 5, right?
Right.
Let's go through a little bit of chapter 5 for us.
Okay, so chapter 5 is about my youngest daughter, Tinks. We call her Tinks. Her name is Ryan. Um,
Okay.
so the whole journey with that was um I was actually on birth control because that's what they recommended after Michael. Because of everything that happened, they was like, you shouldn't have any more kids.
Hmm.
So I followed all the procedures of not trying to have any kids, and the IUD they placed and everything like that. Um, I wasn't feeling well for a minute, and my husband was like, just pee on a stick, just to rule out pregnancy. So before then, I had went to the doctor, and he was like, "No, you're not pregnant." So he was like, "Just go ahead and pee on a stick." So we went and got pregnancy test, and I'm in the bathroom, and I see the how you have that first line that pops up, and then you have that little wavy line that's like just maybe.
Right.
So I'm panicking. I'm yelling for my husband, still sitting, on the toilet. Like, what does this mean? What is this? So I'm panicking all over again. So we go to the doctor, and the same doctor we had with Michael, and he refused to see us. He said, if you don't abort this child, I'm not going to see you. So that was very, I know I've heard of people refusing service before, but for it to happen to you, that is,
A
it's
whole
a
nother
different,
level.
yeah, it
It's
is.
a whole nother level.
Right.
Before you, I don't want people to miss this, okay? Because
Mhm.
I read it, I had to read it again, right?
Mhm.
So after Doc, passed away, the doctors pretty much advised you, like, don't don't try to get pregnant again.
No.
So you got the IUD. You had the
Right.
IUD in. You never took it out, but then you got sick, and you was like, okay, your husband said pee on this stick. You pee on the stick, and it was like it's like we're pregnant, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
but you also talked about how they couldn't find this IUD anywhere,
No.
and
When I
you
first
never
went to
had
the
to take it
doctor,
out. Go ahead. Hmm.
no, when I first went to the doctor, because I wasn't feeling well, I was talking to him about all that. I was like, okay, well, since I'm here, just check the placement of my IUD to make sure, everything is good. She said, okay, well, I'll schedule an ultrasound for you. So they did the ultrasound. They did the ultrasound both ways. They couldn't find it. So the next day she sent me to like an emergency x-ray. So I went to a clinic and found it. They couldn't find it there. But she was like, with all that, she was like, it doesn't look like you're pregnant. They didn't take any blood work, but they was like, oh no, don't worry about it. You're not pregnant. So I took their word for it. Waited up another week or so, still wasn't feeling well. So that's when we decided to take the pregnancy test. And my husband's just as shocked as me. I'm panicking, like, oh my God, what is going to happen? The first thought to your mind, of course, is what happened to Michael. Like, I'm thinking in my head, I can't lose another baby. I can't deal with it mentally. Emotionally, I'm not going to be here. I might really have a breakdown,
But
because I
hold on,
mean, the first
Faye.
time was so bad.
Right. Hold on, Faye. I want to say this, right? Because one, your name is Faye. Two, I feel like when I read that part, I was like, look at God. I literally said, look at God.
Hmm.
Because where did this IUD go?
Right.
And you was pregnant. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
It was meant to be for
Right.
you to have this baby and
Hmm.
for you to get pregnant. Because
Right.
how did the IUD just disappear? That's the way
Right.
I took that chapter. When I read that, I got chills. I was like, oh my God. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I don't
Right.
want the audience to miss that. I mean, I felt like it was a miracle. And
Right.
even though I didn't know the end of your story when I was reading up to that point, I already knew that all was going to be well. Because I'm like, a IUD doesn't just go up in smoke. Okay.
Right.
And you just get pregnant, because I think that if that didn't happen because you heard the words from the professional, so to speak, to say
Right.
don't get pregnant, I don't think y'all would have just kept trying to use birth control to prevent this thing. And God
Mhm.
had other plans. He was like, no, no, no. We I got something
Yeah.
special for you, and
They
we
say
gonna make
God
this
has the
happen.
last word. Yes.
Yeah,
Hmm.
amen to that, right? So
Absolutely.
I had to throw that in. But now
Hmm.
let's talk about how this doctor, I go ahead, because I wanted to talk to the doctor. I really did. I was like, is for real? Go ahead.
Right.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. We had the same reaction, and we were like, seriously, you're not going to treat? He was like, no. He said, because of everything that happened with the last one, he said, I don't feel comfortable treating you again. So I'm looking at my husband like, okay, so what now? He was like, well, I'll refer you to a doctor at the University of Michigan. So we went there, and they too weren't keen on me keeping the baby, but they
Mm.
didn't say no, I'm not gonna treat you. They were like, okay, well, if this is your decision, we're gonna do the best we can. But if things change, then we need to talk about other things. And with Ryan too, they kept asking, do you want to abort? Do you want to abort? Telling me the latest date that I could do it. And I told them, like I told the doctors the first time, if anything happens where, it's affecting my life, whether it's life or death, if I have this child, then, we'll talk about that then. So, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But we did that for a while. With this one, we had different procedures done. We had a cerclage put in. But shortly after that, found out that my water sac was going through that, and it was actually the day of the 24th week. I was at work. I had an appointment, and I sent a text to my mom. I was like, it's crazy because Today is the 24th week. This time with Michael, I was going to the hospital. No sooner than we get to the hospital, we brought my daughter with us so she could see the ultrasound. We
Hmm.
get there. He was like, "Oh, so you want to see the baby?" I'm like, "Sure." Who doesn't want to see their baby,
Right,
while they're
right.
pregnant? And the baby was doing fine, just moving around like she should. And then he was like, "Okay, well, we're gonna measure your cervix." Soon as he went there, his face totally dropped. And
Mm.
watching his face drop, I knew what was going on. But as a mom, you're trying to keep your cool because you don't want your daughter to panic.
Hmm.
So it's like you're panicking on the inside, but try not to show it on the outside. And from there, they were like, "You know what? You're not going to leave this hospital pregnant." So, back to ER and all this stuff we go again. So
Wow.
here comes, second time around with all of this. So
Yes, so
it was a lot going on.
it was a lot going on. But let's talk about for a moment where once some family members found out she was pregnant, they was kind of seeming like they was feeling like some of the doctors, like, that, how can you do this again? Like they felt
Yeah.
like we were being selfish.
Yeah, that I think that hurt the worst. There were some family members and some friends too that were like, "Okay, well, with everything you went through last time, why would you do this again? Why would you put your health at risk?" I mean, at that point during this pregnancy, my kidneys were um compromised again, but I'm like, "You know what? We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Long as the baby gets here safely, I can deal with everything else.
Right.
I've been here before, I not before, but long
You
enough.
know what you
And
mean? I know.
I need to give this baby a chance to live and to prosper. And um, it was hard to hear that. You're just being selfish. But I mean, am I being selfish, or are you being selfish for even saying that to me?
Right.
So that was a statement that I wasn't too keen on. But everybody has their opinions, and everybody's they're welcome to it. Doesn't mean I have to like it, but
Right.
um
Right. Yeah.
it was just something that was hard to hear. But then you had those other family members and friends that were very supportive. It was just like, okay, because of everything you went on, you need to be more careful this time. So I got both ends of the stick.
That's good, right? What I loved here too is that you said that this time the pregnancy wasn't attacking your body. When I was reading, that gave me a good feeling also, to be very
Hmm.
honest with you. I was like, in my head, I was like, okay, all is going to be well, right?
Right, right.
Because, this time around, you just kind of felt good. So, again, it's just your story is amazing and it's great. That doctor, I still can't even believe it. But you know what? Sometimes, because we always go to familiar ground too, right?
Hmm.
And sometimes, in order for God to move us, He got to shake it up and shake it down, right? So
Right, exactly.
at least that led you to some other doctors who said pretty much, we're going to fight with you. All
Right,
right. We'll
right,
fight who we can't fight.
right.
That's what I took. They was going to
Exactly.
fight who they
Hmm.
can't fight. So that was, it was a good thing. So chapter 6 is called the test. Talk about the test, because again, we're at this critical 24-week period where, okay, so doc, came at 24 weeks. Am I having deja vu? We about to have another one again at 24 weeks. So talk a little
Right.
bit about that.
So the 24-week mark, we were back in the hospital, again at that critical moment of if the baby is going to make it or not. Of course, with that, there's no happiness really at this moment.
Hmm.
Um, Everything is fear and nervousness and panic, and just we don't know what to think, we don't know what to do. It was at that moment you're comparing everything to what happened with Doc, and it's hard not to, even though they're two separate entities. But it's like, okay, well, at 24 weeks this happened with Michael, is this going to happen with Ryan? Okay, this happened with Michael, is this going to happen with Ryan? Like everything you're being compared to. um this time was a little more planned out. It wasn't so rush with this one. Like with Michael, I was in active labor. With
Mm.
Ryan, I was not. They were able to plan it. But with that, uh, like I said, I had a lot of issues with Michael, and a lot of them carried on. They were watching my heart. So at this moment, I had to have a plan set up. So, okay, well, if you don't make it or if this happens, they would have rather me have a vaginal birth rather than a C-section, but they were planning for a C-section because she was, I think she was breech. And
Mm.
they were hoping that she would turn, and at the last minute she did, which was
Oh,
great. But you're having to call people in and sign paperwork of, if this doesn't happen, this is her wishes. And I'm telling my husband, if during the C-section, if something goes sideways and you have to choose between me and the baby, if I'm gonna die either way, choose the baby, make
mm.
sure the baby has a life. But if the baby has no chance of living, then, of course, choose me. But
Right.
those are the hardest conversations to have with anybody, especially
Yeah.
your husband, because he doesn't want to lose a wife and another child. So,
Right.
that the whole meaning of the test is there because your faith again is being tested. You prayed for another healthy baby and you got pregnant again. Though this wasn't planned, it's just kind of like, okay, God gifted you with this baby. I don't see him doing this to only take this baby away again. He can't do this
Right.
to me twice. Why would he do this to me twice? So, we're kind of thinking in our head that, okay, this is going to be our miracle baby. We hope this is going to be our miracle baby. But like I said, that whole NICU thing, you don't know, excuse me, what's going to happen. You can't plan for the end game. You have to take the days as they come.
Yeah, you do. You have to take the things as they come. So let me just read this really quick.
Excuse me.
You said Ryan, and that's your youngest daughter's name,
Yes.
made her way into this world at 24 weeks in a day, weighing 1 pound 9 ounces. If am I remembering correctly, was Doc 1 pound and 8 ounces or
He
nine?
was 1 pound and 8 ounces and 24 weeks on the dot.
On the dot. Is that not
Yes.
something? We were once again back in familiar walls of the NICU as our precious baby girl for her life. Was this true reason for losing? Was this the true reason for losing our son? So it's amazing that she came into the world at 24 weeks. Are you okay? Do you need
Yeah,
to get some water? You
I
okay?
just got a tickle. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So it's amazing that, he came into the world at 24 weeks. She came into the world at 24 weeks. Um,
Right.
and, she survived. So, great chapter again. So, chapter 7, unfortunately, you had to deal with NICU life again. Okay.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about the NICU life. I hope you're okay over there. The
Yeah.
doctors, the nurses, and all of that. And then you had a prayer wall for Ryan.
Yeah.
While she was there in NICU. Tell us a little bit about that.
The NICU at U of M was different than the one Michael was born in, and they had individual rooms. So we had
Mm.
more of a say so on what kind of went on and what was around in there. So with that, dealing with what happened with Michael, I wanted to keep her surrounded with positivity. So that's where the prayer wall came from.
Oh.
So all the cards and balloons and stuff, if I could fit them up there, they were going on the wall. Any quotes of any encouragement and things like that, we put there on the wall. Even though she can't read it, she probably can't see it, but it's there.
Right.
Um, the nurses there were great. We had a team. We had a we had a lot of nurses in and out, but we had a team of 3 that we really liked. Um, and they took care of her like they were like she was their own child. Some of the doctors in there were great, some of them weren't so much. But being that we went through this again, a lot of the doctors weren't prepared for us. I would say in the forms of the questions we were asking. Because this time around we were more of an advocate for the baby because with Michael, we kind of took it as face value. We would go and Google different things for questions to ask, but with Ryan, we could ask more of, well, what is this? Well, what is that? Because we've seen that with Michael. And
Right.
being that he had NEC, we were always watching her belly. Very
Mm,
cautious on when she ate, how much they ate, how fast they were pushing her and things like that. And I'm glad that the nutritionist there took into consideration our fear, and he didn't push her as fast. Even though they said, they said, oh well, she tolerated 1 ounce. We're gonna push it up to 2. Like, okay, give her stomach a minute to kind of adjust to that 1 ounce first before you start pushing more into her.
right.
So there was a lot of questions for that. The doctors do their rounds. So every time they did their round, I was making sure I was there. I think I lived in her room for the first 6 weeks. I had my notes and notebooks and everything, and I was right there in the rounds with the doctors. And they will say something, and I'm like, okay, well, I have a question. Well, last time you said this and this and this, but today you're saying this differently. What changed? So there was one doctor in there that I really liked, and she would look at me like, I know you have questions, she said, but let me finish my rounds and I'll be back. And and she would really come back, and she'd sit up her chair. She said, get your notebook out and let's go through these questions.
Oh,
So I was very happy to have her. We still stay in contact with her nurses and that doctor. We send them pictures and things like that. But the NICU, like different um, procedures she has, you can't cry bedside because the baby can feel your
yeah.
energy. So, if it was something where, I was really scared, I have to walk out the room, I do my crying, get myself back together, and then go back to her and cheer her on. That's hard to do, but in that moment, you have to do what's best for you and that child. You need to take your time because you can't bottle it all in. But at the
Mhm.
same time, that baby needs to know that you're there. So, the university hospital is in a different city than Flint, so it's like 45 minutes away. So we're
Mm,
going up and down the highway trying to figure out, who's going to stay the night here. When am I going to go home? We still had Riley to deal with. And,
right.
so, we're trying to make sure she's still taken care of, but she doesn't feel like she's forgotten or pushed to the side. So, that whole NICU experience again, we were kind of given a do-over. We were able to
Mm,
take more of a watch over Riley and see her, emotions and her questions and concerns, and, talk to her a little bit more. When we had Michael, she didn't have a phone. So this time we made sure she had a phone so she can contact us whenever she needed to. So if we were there for, a couple of days, she was usually with my mom. And, she was able to video chat us. We were able to show her the baby. And, she felt like she had more of a part in this one than just,
yeah.
being left at home and can't go see Michael. And, you know, um, to see Michael, they were only allowed only a couple days. But to see Ryan, she could go anytime she wanted to.
Oh, that's nice.
So it was a big difference in the whole experience. And I think that made a huge difference on how we dealt with things too.
Beautiful. I love it. And it is nice that they they had a different setup. So they was
Yes.
allowed, the siblings were allowed to like come and see.
Hmm.
So our next chapter is the battle. Talk to us a little bit about that because I
Uh,
know she got a staph infection while there, right?
yeah, she, they put the leads and everything on their arms, and, she was so, their skin is so frail. When they're first born, that tiny, you can see through their skin. You can see
Yes,
all
you
their
can.
veins and things like that. So you have to be a lot more careful than you would like me or you, because their skin is almost like paper. It's paper thin. And with that, she was being watched, and the rule there is that the coming oncoming nurse is supposed to check the baby down from head to toe, just so they know what's going on.
Uh-huh.
And um
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it's done, but honestly sometimes it's not. And with her, it wasn't done every shift. and she got a tear in both of her arms, and it really got infected, and she got a staph infection. And at that point, we weren't sure what was going to happen with her. Um, there was one doctor there that kind of rubbed me the wrong way and was kind of like, it is what it is. And I'm like, no, it's not. It is what it is. Because if that was your child, you'd be just as on top of things and just as mad as, we are. It
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't have happened, So that whole battle was with her fighting for her life, but at the same time fighting the doctors to see what was going to happen and, different things like that, because that could have been prevented.
Yeah.
And, you know, it wasn't. So it was kind of hard to deal with, because it's like, okay, here we are in the NICU again. We've been through this fight before, but now we got something totally different that we're working with that we
Mm-hmm.
hadn't been through before. But yet at the same time, I'm going to Dr. Google looking at all this stuff and trying to figure out, what questions I need to ask, or maybe they should look for this, or maybe they should look for that, or, have they thought about this? And I mean, not questioning their jobs, but at the same time, I need to know exactly what's going on with my child and, what else there is to look for, So, Mommy Bear is coming out and, she's after everybody. So,
Yeah, I don't
so
blame you.
right.
Leslie had a very good question. So, how old was Riley at the time of Michael and at the time of Ryan?
Um, at the time, she's 13 now. At the time of Michael, she was 7. At
Okay.
the, at the time of Ryan, she was 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she was very young.
Yeah. Yes. And Leslie, yes, you can see everything. You see the veins. It can be a little shocking for you seeing it at the very first time. And
It
yes,
is.
the skin is extremely fragile. And that's why you have to be careful on what tape you use to maybe tape down the IV so to stay in place. How you
Mm-hmm.
take that tape off. You got to use a lot of oil, baby oil or something, because you can't just
Right.
go ripping it off
You
because
can't.
your skin will come off with the rip. So yes, they are very sensitive at that time. And you were fortunate enough that you did have an experience. Well, not fortunate, but you had experience. So you were able to know, now this time I'm going to look things up, ask my different questions. And God bless the doctor who said, listen, I got you. I got to do my
Right.
rounds, but I'm going to come back and I'm going to answer your
Right.
questions.
Exactly.
So what I love also, guys, in this book, some great photos are in the book, just to give you, some visuals. And listen, you're probably not gonna be able to see it that well, but there's little Miss Ryan. So amazing pictures. So when did she come out of the NICU, and how much did she weigh once she was able to come out?
She came out of the NICU. She was in the NICU for 216 days. So
Wow.
she came home. Yeah, she was born in September. She came home in April. At that point, I believe she was just below 5 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, so she was still tiny. Very excited to do her car seat test and everything else that we had to do. So, um, it was very exciting, but very nerve-wracking at the same time. It's like, okay, now we have this whole NICU baby coming home.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do? What if something goes wrong? You have all that thought in your mind. She came home on just oxygen, and she had to have a feeding tube. So we had to learn how to, use the feeding tube and adjust her oxygen and things like that, which wasn't as bad as we thought, but we had to make sure that, we understood it. Whenever we leave, we had to have that container of oxygen with us and,
Yeah.
make sure she had enough air and everything in it. So it was to leave the house with her was definitely an experience. It was an
Yeah.
event, a total event. So for the
Forget
most part, we
about
just
just
kind of stayed at
diapers and
home.
wipes, right?
Right.
Forget about just diapers and wipes. You needed everything else. So
Exactly.
um that's 216 days is a long time, especially
Yes.
y'all driving back and forth. You said 45 minutes.
Right.
Right, just to, go to the hospital and see her. So and then I see her in her graduate from the NICU uniform here, her
Yeah.
graduate, yes, which is really nice. And I do believe that what happens was with moms, that, have to go home with oxygen or anything, you actually become experts on it.
Yeah.
Um, because you
Right.
almost have no choice, right? Because you're home.
Right.
So how is she doing today?
She is doing great. She's actually running back and forth around this house right now. Um, she she is, walking and, climbing on everything. The only thing, she doesn't eat any real food. She's still bottle fed.
Okay.
So she shies away from food. So she's in therapy for, physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy, all of that. She doesn't talk, but she babbles all day long. Um, so but she's doing great. They are going to test her for just to make sure she has everything said. They're going to test her for autism
Mm,
in the next couple weeks. So we'll see how she does there. But whatever the outcome, we'll be ready for it.
you'll be ready for it. How old is she?
She's 3. She'll be 4 next month.
Beautiful. Let me tell you this, and this doesn't mean this is your scenario. So my son too, NICU baby, right? And
Hmm.
he took a while to talk, but the doctor told us, yeah, he's taking a while to talk because you're doing everything for him.
Right.
He said he
Yeah.
don't need to talk, right?
No,
Because he's
that's
like,
how we are.
yep. He was like, yo, if he wants, because I used to go to the refrigerator. Do you want to buy? Do you want this? Do you want that? Like so, you know.
Hmm.
But this, God bless, and I feel like all is going to go well. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
happy.
think
Yeah, I'm
so
happy.
too.
Yes. Okay, so chapter 9, we got to talk about Riley,
Yes.
okay? Because that she was a good age at the time of both of these things happened, a good
Hmm.
age of understanding that, total awareness.
Right.
Because for Doc, right, you said she was 7, and I think for Ryan, you said she was what, 10, about
10.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
so that's really a good age, and I know it's a lot for a sibling to go through. So tell us a little bit about Riley.
Riley is 13 now. She is going to the ninth grade. She loves being a big sister, but hates it at the same time. um, with her and Ryan, they really adore each other. Ryan follows her every step, is on her heel when she's here. She loves to play with her. She goes in her room and tears everything apart, which I love to see because Riley used to do that to us everywhere. So now she's getting it back. Um, during Ryan's birth, um, I believe she did a lot better. Um, she was able to communicate with us more. She understood more of what was going on because of what we went through with Doc. Um, I didn't try to shield her from anything with Ryan. I wanted her to know everything. I would tell her, Ryan, like when like with Michael, he had NEC. Ryan didn't go through NEC, but she had like a little bit of stomach problems. So I was like, well, Ryan's belly is sick, but she's gonna be okay. So I
Hmm.
kind of, talked to her in the words that she would understand, but I would still let her know everything. Um, like I said, the biggest thing between the two was listening to her say, "So I prayed to God for nothing." Like that
Yeah.
still rings in my head very strongly. Like that very hard words to swallow. Um, but she was very happy that Ryan was born. But at the same time, I feel like she has some sort of resentment toward her because she's here and Michael's not. And
Mm.
not to say that she's trying to hurt Ryan or anything like that, or but as in the back of your mind, like I said, you have that thought of other NICU babies survival stories, like, okay, well, why did they survive and my child didn't, and they were, less of an age than, my son, or they had the same thing, and why us, so I
Right.
believe that in the back of her head it was going on. And I asked her, after everything was good with her, and she was like, yeah, I kind of do. I said, but don't worry about it. Michael is living through her. Michael
Hmm.
brought her here, so you
Yeah.
have to be happy that she's here.
Right. I agree. Yeah, that's sweet. Okay, I'm glad that Riley is doing well. So chapter 10, I love, be encouraged and remain faithful.
Yes,
Because you're definitely, your family faith has been tested. So
definitely.
tell us a little bit about that.
Um, be encouraged and remain faithful. It's just pretty much saying that, no matter what's going on, you're going to be tested all the time. So you have to take it day by day. There is a scripture in here that kind of kept me encouraged, and I actually wrote the scripture down and put it on Ryan's incubator all through while
Mhm.
he was in the hospital. And
So
it
read
says,
it. Is this where you wanted to read us a selection from chapter 10?
yeah,
Okay, so go ahead. Do your reading
okay.
now.
It says, here's a scripture that encouraged me. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. It says, just know that everyone's story is not your story. One bad ending does not render another, and vice versa. Have faith, trust God, and be patient. There is a reason for everything, and in due time, you may be fortunate enough to find out the answers to your whys. I was blessed enough I was blessed to have found the answers to my whys. Our son Michael was sent here for a short time to teach us a lesson. His death taught us that even through the storms, there is still a reason to smile. Unknowingly, we were being prepped for our journey to witness the miracle of our third child, Ryan. Memories last forever, so cherish the happy moments and learn to see the good in each experience. This has helped me to help others and, most importantly, to help myself. Michael left me with wisdom that I never knew I would need again. Because of him, I knew how to be the excuse me, to be my child's advocate when she could not speak. I was there watching her every move as her brother whispered in her ear to remain strong and fight. Through Though we went through some unfortunate events to witness our miracle, I am thankful to have learned lessons that only premature babies fighting for their life could teach.
Beautiful. I love it. Thank
Thank
you for that.
you.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And again, you have an amazing picture in here, and I love it. Oh, and yes, Black Swan said that's one of her favorite scriptures. God knows his plan for me.
Thank
Yes,
you.
he does, right? And we just have to, I think it's another one like lean not on your own understanding. There's a
Right.
lot of things we're not going to understand.
Not at all.
We just got to trust and kind of roll with it, so to speak. And then
Mhm.
there's I think it's a song, but it says, joy always comes in the morning, and I kind of
Right.
feel that way. Not saying which morning is going to be, but I
Right.
do
But
feel
it's
that
coming.
it's coming, right? Then you have the release of my understanding. Talk to us a little bit about that.
The release of my understanding is me coming to understand and come more of peace with what happened. Um, Michael passing away, I was angry. I was questioning God. My faith was tested. Um, I wasn't really sure if I wanted to get back in church or not because I was just that distraught over, everything going on. But when we got pregnant with Ryan and seeing everything that happened with her, the release of my understanding was okay, well, maybe Michael wasn't meant to be here long. Maybe this was his journey to do. He came, he taught us a lesson, and that was it. He served his purpose. Um, it was sad for us to see him go, but you never know what his sole purpose was. And because of how everything unraveled, I believe that was his purpose. His purpose was never to be here long. His purpose was to come and prepare us for Ryan and let us know that, things didn't work for me, but I got my little sis. I'm right here next to her where I'm going to walk her out of this hospital and, you're going to be okay, which is where the
The cover.
the cover came from, Michael and Ryan. And if you look close enough, it looks like a hospital area.
Yes.
So, when everything was said and done, that's Michael walking his little sister home. It's kind
Mhm.
of like their victory lap. Hey, we made it, go home and enjoy life. So,
Mhm.
that brought me peace, with
Mhm.
everything. I still have my trigger days where, I may break down and cry or, something may happen and, it reminds me of Michael, but it's not as hard. I'm more okay with it today. than I was, a few years back. But
Mhm.
everything happens for a reason, and I believe that was his reason.
Yeah, he served his purpose in his 55 days.
Yes.
Yes, he did. Yes, Doc did. So
Yes.
you have your last word here. Tell us about your last word that you wrote in this book.
My last word was actually written by one of my best friends,
Okay.
and she was saying pretty much how she's seen other people go through, traumatic experiences, and watching myself and my husband go through this, she said we had more grace than a lot of other people. And, though we were going through this traumatic experience, nobody would really know it. We still kind of went on, not, I wouldn't say not like anything happened, but, we didn't let it bring us down totally. We still, live life. We didn't take our anger or our grief out on anyone. We were still just as genuine as we would like to be. So it was just her way of saying that, hey, good job for, kind of keeping your cool and, still letting people know that, you can grieve and, experience a traumatic experience with grace and, be able to still interact with other people without, taking your anger and things out on them.
Yeah, I love that. Well, your best friend did a really
Yeah,
good job there.
thank you.
And listen, guys, as we're winding down here, one, I hope you this story touched your heart and you enjoyed it. And again, tell us, Faith, all the places where they can get from heartbreak to healing hearts.
You can get this book definitely on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. At this moment, I don't have a website for it, but I'm looking to get one started. But you can also purchase books for me if you want to do it that way. I do have a website that I keep track of, and I can give you guys that. It is actually Heartbreak, the number two, healing hearts at gmail.com. So that's heartbreak, the number two, healing hearts at gmail.com. You can send me your personal reviews, your questions. If you have any other inquiries about the book, I don't know if you want to like mass order any book for any reason or, anything like that. Just, give me a call. If you want to know more about me and how I came up with everything going on here, definitely shoot me an email. I'll be glad to answer you back.
And guys, I will update the description section of this video and make sure that if I didn't already put it in there, I will put that email address in there so you can definitely get in touch with Faith. I told y'all, I promised y'all, right? And I didn't even do my run yet because I have some books that I still need to mail out from last week. I do have here a signed copy, brand new. It's not my one that I read, y'all. This one is signed by the author. So listen, if you want this signed copy of From Heartbreak to Healing Hearts by Faith, please tell me in the chat. I'm just going to pick somebody. I don't have my buddy here, Canelo, to figure this out with me, but I will select someone and I will definitely mail this book to you. You just have to email me and, I will give you the book. So if you want the book, put your name in the chat, say, I want that book, and I will figure out who I'm going to give this book to. Faith, let me say this. I
Mhm.
really, truly enjoy reading your story and thank you for sharing with us. I
I'm
don't
glad.
take
Thank you
it
for
like,
having me.
yes, you're welcome. I don't take it lightly that when people really share their story, because I know it's not easy. I know that it's hard. And listen, we got to meet Doc. Okay. So I'm so happy that we did. And I truly feel like his perfect was served in that 55 days.
Yes.
And I know it was heart wrenching for you. And I really, the thing that I absolutely love is this picture. I love it. He's like, okay, come on, baby sis.
Right.
You gotta go. Okay, Leslie,
Yes.
Leslie, it's yours. It's yours, Leslie. Just email me at Chronicles Grayhead at Gmail and I will mail this off to you, okay, Leslie? So don't forget, email me. And I want to say my email might be going across at the bottom there. So, I mean, really, truly, so Leslie, the book is yours. So I really, truly appreciated your story. The poem, listen, that poem had me, it took me out. I was crying there. But again, like he was telling you, like, Mom, this is not your time. I
Yeah.
need you to snap out of it, pull yourself together. You got dad, you got sis, you
Yes.
got my two sisters.
Right.
You can't just, this ain't your moment now. Okay, I'm
No,
good.
not at all.
Yep, he's like, listen, I'm good. I'll see you at one point, but I'm not going to see you now.
Right.
So I think it was a great poem, and I truly loved it. Right.
Thank
Um,
you.
and yes, Leslie, you're welcome. And so I always like to close out my, my interviews with the authors by saying, like, if you can give any life tip or anything that you feel like, you can share with the world that would kind of help us along on our journey in this thing called life, what would you like to tell us? What would you like to say?
I know people probably said it before, but it's actually take things day by day. Um,
Mm,
a lot of times in different situations, like I spoke before, you have that end goal, but you can't get to that end goal without talking about what's right now. So you
yeah,
have to face what's right in front of you first before you can face what you want to happen. So, I mean, that in itself, you're taking it day by day. You're taking your wins as they come. You're taking your losses as they come. Um, it's just you can't be strong all the time, and then also take time for yourself to just break down, because if you don't take that moment, you're going to crash at some point, and it might be um pointed towards somebody who doesn't even deserve it.
yeah,
So you just have to make sure that you take time for yourself, grieve, or deal with the situation as you want to. There's no right or wrong way to deal with that situation. Just don't take it out on people that don't deserve it. Um, and like I said, just take your wins and your losses as they come.
yes, I love it. Great advice. I'm one of my favorite, like, motivational speakers. He would always say, live in the now. And
Yes.
I think that's similar to what you're saying, right? Take it one day
Hmm.
at a time. He was
Right.
like, you cannot change the past.
No.
You don't even know if you're going to be here in the future. But
Right.
he said, but you got this moment right now, right?
Right.
So
Right.
live in the now. And then,
Hmm.
and everything else, you deal with it as it comes.
Right.
So let me say this, Faith. I'm glad I got to spend this moment in this time and this
Absolutely.
Saturday with
Me
you.
as I do
Um,
too.
Yes, I wish you much success on your book getting out there, because this is a message that we never know who it can help and how
Right.
many people it can touch. And I'm sure
Right.
a lot of people can connect with you. And although your heartbreak came in the NICU and with Doc, but this the way you dealt with it, it can be translated to any other situation that someone might be going through, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
it's like, be easy on yourself, because we all do tend to blame ourselves. That's just part of what I got out of this book, right?
Right.
Be
Right.
easy on yourself. Like, don't blame yourself. And
Hmm.
also that, sometimes we do things, and, the other siblings may get lost for a moment. Again,
Hmm.
don't blame yourself, but once you recognize it, you kind of do better, right?
Right. Right.
So you have the opportunity to do better. So best of wishes with your
Thank you.
teenager.
I appreciate
Okay.
it.
Because
I need it.
teenagers are special. Mine is
Oh my
17.
gosh. They are
Okay.
trying. Definitely.
And listen, and Ryan, she's going to do well. She got her
Yes.
brother looking after her. She got everybody
She's
looking
gonna do
after her.
great. Yes.
She's going to do great. Yes. And we will definitely be in touch. I'm going
Thank
to
you.
update everything so that your information is definitely in the
Okay.
description of this video. And I will also put it on my community page where people can reach you at and how they can get the book. It's an amazing story. I love you. Thank you for stopping by
Thank you so
Chronicles of the
much.
Gray Hair Diva. And
All
all the
righty.
best to you and your family. Take care.
Yeah.
All right.
Same to
Yep.
you.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye
Bye.
bye.